All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Talk About It Live with Frank and Manny. Good morning there, Frank.
Hey, brother.
Hey, how you
Good to
doing?
see you. Good to see everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Praise the Lord. We had a really long weekend, and so a blessed weekend as well. My wife and I, we went camping over the weekend, and
Nice,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, real nice, real nice.
Yeah, and so did we. We're in beautiful Alpine, Texas, uh, just west of Del Rio this weekend, bro. We had a great time. We're testing out the RV. We've had it for several years, but it'd been a while, and
Yeah,
so we took it out. It was beautiful weather out there, beautiful mountain scenery out there,
yeah.
the
Praise the Lord.
sunsets, the beautiful colors in the sky. We went and checked out the Marfa
Oh, you
Lights.
did? Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool,
Oh
man.
wow, wow! I've never seen them. Every time I've gone, they've never showed up. But
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, that's kind of funny. There was a bunch of people out there. It was a good time. The stargazers were out there, man. Beautiful, beautiful, man. Underneath the Milky Way galaxy, bro. Just
Yeah.
the band above us and that West Texas night skies. You could see. My wife kept saying it's like a sea of stars.
Yeah, praise the Lord, man.
It was beautiful out there, brother, and
It,
just
it,
enjoying God's creation.
Yeah, we kind of did the same thing. Except we went in the opposite direction. My wife and I, we went to Guadalupe State Park, Guadalupe River State Park, and man, it was beautiful. Got a chance to go do some hiking and things like that with our kids showed up each night, and so it's not too far from San Antonio and Austin, and so our kids showed up and stayed with us each night. So it was a blessed time, man, and talked about a lot of things and. Of course, well, we don't celebrate Christmas, but we the way we celebrate Christmas, we go eat Chinese food.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, and explain to folks. I mean, obviously you follow Jesus.
yeah,
follow
we
Yeshua.
follow Yeshua, but we do observe all the Jewish feasts, the Messianic
Yes.
Jewish feasts and the biblical feasts, Passover things like that. So we do recognize the birth of the Messiah, the advent of the Messiah, and during the time of the Feast of Tabernacles is when we recognize. His coming, according to what we believe, prophetically
Yes.
speaking, So anyway, I mean, even though we don't celebrate Christmas, it doesn't take away from the fact that we believe that He is the Son of God, that He is,
Amen.
God come down in the form of a man to save us and to give His life for us, and then He, sent His Holy Spirit upon us as well, and so we believe He is the only way to salvation.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Amen. And yeah, we both my sons were there, and it was that's what the holiday season is about, brother. Family getting together, hopefully patching up past grievances. Just a time of reconciliation, because we recognize that God reconciled us to Him through the blood of Jesus Christ,
Amen.
brother.
Amen. We celebrate Hanukkah as well during those 8 nights of Hanukkah. Man, it's amazing because each night we gather together as a family. We try to as much as possible. Our kids are grown now, leaving out, but as much as possible we try to gather together, even via FaceTime and whatnot, and we just talk about the light of the world, man.
Yeah.
Messiah and how He's blessed us and how He's given us life.
Manny, I've said this before out there that the earth is God's original creation, is God's original tabernacle.
Yeah.
The mountains, the heavens, the stars, the creatures point to a divine maker, to a all wise creator.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so being out there in nature, honestly, it's a chance for us to connect with family, but also to connect with God, bro, and just be amazed and awe of the mountains and the valleys. It was a good refreshing time.
Yeah.
But of course, we leave the RV park, and we're back in the middle of humanity, with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll be talking about this morning.
Yeah,
But thanks for joining us, folks.
Yeah, praise the Lord. We had to come back to reality over here, and so even though I missed home, we love staying out there. And then just one real quick point, as you were talking about all the the stars and the mountains and the scenery, we ponder on those things as well, bro. And I was thinking to myself, man, this is all post flood.
Yes.
It's all post flood, and still we believe that God brings life. He brings life, and He works all things together for the good. For those who love Him, and and you see this even in a post-flood existence.
Yeah, it's cool you say that, bro, because as we're driving out of Alpine, going north on 118 there to Jeff Davis, it's beautiful. I mean, it's not the per se Colorado Rocky Mountains,
Right.
but it's still beautiful when you see that even in the destruction that you mentioned with the flood that occurred, there's still beauty left on this earth, brother. And there's, those valleys and just the wonder of it all out there. It really does point towards God. It makes you realize, how powerful He
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah. And how merciful He is.
merciful. And the significance we get, folks, is because God loved us first.
Yeah.
He loved us, and He sent His only begotten Son into the world. So as we're coming out, out of one stage of the holiday season, we're looking ahead to the new year.
Yep. Yeah.
And of course, we're going to be hoping that God has for us, and we know, all things work together for the good of those that love God, and are
Right.
called according to His name.
Yep.
And all good things come from our Father of lights.
Yeah.
In whom there is no shadow, no shade, no turning. He is good all the time.
And that's something to always look forward to. In Jewish tradition, we have a saying, that every time we are confronted with any type of troubled news, the response is to be, God is just.
Yes.
God is just, knowing that He's going to work things out, for eventually,
Yeah.
and then to remind us too that all this is temporary. But during that time, right, as we are waiting to be reunited with the Messiah, or regather to Him in the kingdom, there are things that we should accomplish in this world, and that's to make this place a better place to live for the following generation.
Yeah.
And so that means self-preservation, that not in the sense that we're looking out for number one ourselves, but looking out for those who come after us, those who are part of our family, those who have no voice.
Yeah.
And sad to say, a lot of people think, well, that precludes or that excludes any involvement in politics.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, Manny, I'm thinking for the law enforcement folks out there, there's a basic tenet, about whenever you have to, defend yourself, deadly force.
Right.
Defense of self, defense of your partner, or an innocent third party. That's kind of the way it works,
Yeah,
man.
that's the way it works.
And so in this world, God has called each one of us to a specific purpose. We're supposed to take care of our families, but then also we're supposed to impact society, our communities, extended family. And so that's what we're doing here for you folks, is bringing you awareness, bringing attention to the issues that, while a lot of what we may talk about here may seem to be the border, it's important because what happens on the border doesn't stay on the border.
Right.
It's going to impact the rest of America. It's going to impact our pocketbook in the form of taxes. It's going to impact our society in the way that our society is changing.
Yeah.
And as we've said many times, there are folks on the left that have a very diabolical ideologue agenda that they're putting in place, man.
Yeah.
And part of that is the no borders or open borders agenda that we're seeing here on the border, Manny.
No, you're exactly right, Frank. And sometimes you wonder, is this intentional? And as I look at the things that are happening more and more, it doesn't seem like this is by accident, or this is, or it doesn't even seem to me that it's for the betterment of any human being.
Yeah.
But simply just to keep people that keep themselves in power, to keep people under control. Because this is, if you've ever read any type of communist manifesto or any type of socialist manifesto or plan or anything like that, open borders, Frank, is the way that they end up bringing in enemy, or to keep people under control.
Well, think about it, bro. Let me scoot in here a little bit because I'm a little bit out of the picture here, but yeah.
I didn't mean that on purpose, though, to get you out.
It's the camera, bro. It's me where I'm sitting. No. For sure, it is intended. I think we can all agree to that. And Manny, a lot of times what happens, brother, as people cross the river, in this case, we've seen it. We've seen it. They discard their IDs. They discard their documentation. Why? Because they're coming into America and they want to create a clean slate.
Right.
And folks, as advanced as we are with technology and our artificial intelligence and the computer world and all that, the United States authorities still do not have the level of contact with law enforcement.
Yeah.
With other nations, bro.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, even though we live in a very advanced society as far as technology goes, we still don't know everybody that's coming across.
No, we don't.
If the people with whatever intent is in their heart, whether as they would say, to make a better life for themselves or evil intent, if they're not in a database in their home country, that's one. But if that database in their home country is not connected to us,
Yeah.
we don't know who they are, brother. And so as you're talking about that, and as we're looking ahead to the year, we hope and pray for the best, but folks, we got to prepare for the worst. And that's not fear mongering. That's not, out here, with any sense of trying to create fear in people. What we are trying to do is prepare you, alert you, inform you, create awareness, create education, so that you can know best how to care for yourself and your family and your community.
Yeah.
And as patriots, we need to stand strong. We need to stand firm, and we need to step up. We need to step up. We just went through this primary, through this season where we were, taking in candidates. The parties were, brother, and so now we're going to be going into the primary season.
Which begins in March, right?
Begins in March. Right. Yeah. Well, the early voting is going to begin in February.
Okay.
So right now is a time when people need to be vetting their candidates. They need to be looking at them and making no bones about it, folks. You're going to have on the left ideologues that want to get into power and continue pushing Biden's agenda. Right now through the party that they've hijacked, the Democrat Party. Yeah. But internally in the Republican Party, there's a war going on. There's a civil war happening within the Republican Party as well. Yep. And patriots like us, lifelong Republicans, realize that. And it's time for patriots like you to jump into the fray, vet these people. And if they smell establishment, you need to follow on that. Follow the money, follow their endorsements, follow their associations. Look to grassroots groups to provide you information on the candidates.
Right. And I even looked to see who, Frank, who the left considers to be a threat, because there are certain Republicans that are in office that the left doesn't even call out. Yeah. The left doesn't even worry about, really, and then you kind of wonder why, like and I'm going to bring up his name like we usually do. We look at the representative that we have here in 23, but we're at Tony Gonzalez. The left doesn't call him out. Yeah,
they're not wasting any time on Tony Gonzalez, folks, because Tony Gonzalez is doing their bidding. He is as effective as a Democrat in office would have been. Why? Because he's a Democrat, man. Yeah. He's shown it through his actions. He's shown it through his vote, more importantly, through his vote. And we'll be bringing that to light. You got to just go look at the voting record of your congressman. In our case here in Congressional District 23, 29 counties in West Texas, Manny, from El Paso down to LaSalle County. That's 800 plus miles of border. And we have guarding the border gates, the wolf, who's been working with the left, bro. Yeah. He's been working in synchronization with the left for the movement of people. He's walking around now trying to come off as some kind of border hawk. Right. When all you got to do is look at his record, his voting record, and we'll be exposing that. Look at his associations. Last week I went into Eagle Pass, and I went to Mission Border Hope, which is a non-government organization, the biggest facilitator of the invasion in Eagle Pass. Mission Border Hope, who's run by a woman named Valencia, and she's married to Victor, who is the editor in chief of the Eagle Pass news leader, whatever it's called down there. But Victor's best friends with Tony Gonzalez, brother. Wow. And so we know that Tony Gonzalez is in bed with the NGOs.
Yeah, and that explains some articles recently, right? And so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so there's a whole network out here, folks. We'll be talking more and more about this stuff, and explaining to you what's happening here in the border. And as you're going into the election season, primary, man, you need to not only be thinking about who's going to represent your party, but honestly, Manny, I would say that's almost secondary. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, who's going to best represent your principles, right? Your values, your worldview? Right. Who's going to best represent, the things that you hold near and dear? And I know there's a lot of Democrats right now that are saying, "What the heck? All we have are a bunch of socialists, Marxists running on the Democrat
Yeah.
party, and these are patriots, I believe, patriots
Yep.
over there, brother, that are realizing that, hey, this is not my party anymore.
Right.
The values that we held, because think about it, Manny, just a few years ago, we had on the left the likes of Clinton and Obama and even Biden talking about the need for immigration
Oh yeah.
control, bro,
Yeah.
immigration
Yeah.
enforcement.
Yeah, and they even talked about and supported traditional marriage.
Yes.
They supported two genders. And it's amazing to me, Frank, all the stuff that they supported, but yet all of a sudden people start getting offended,
Yeah.
and they spot, okay, this is why I can get some votes, and then they flip flop. And granted, people can change their minds on things,
Yeah.
but the reality is that they claimed when they were supportive of legal immigration that was part of their platform, the Democratic platform. But it's not. It's not part of the Democratic platform.
No.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why they can go back and forth like they do.
Well, and so what you're seeing in politics, Manny, is this trend. They know, and when I say they, the left and all those who work with the left, the media, the sold out fake news media, brother.
Yeah.
Liberal rags, liberal magazines that pretend to be fair and unbalanced, imbalanced. They're really unbalanced,
Yeah.
and they're just shrill screamers for the left. But the entertainment world, the sports world, they're working. Business, the technological world, they are working together, and so as we're going forward, brother, we need to be aware of that they're going to work hard to put people in office that best support their selfish,
Right.
ungodly, diabolical interests.
Yeah.
And there are, thank God, pockets of resistance.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
there's people out there that are true patriots, they're true conservatives. They are true warriors for what is right, and they are right now in the trenches fighting, to get elected. And so, as we've said before, don't send your money, folks, to the major organizations on the left or on the right. Don't do that. Send it to the candidate that best fits your worldview.
Right.
And I know there's people that are, saying, "What the heck? Yeah, what the heck?" Because they misuse it, Manny. A lot of that money, overhead money, just goes to pay salaries, trips,
Yeah.
travel and stuff like that.
So maybe like 10 cents out of the dollar will go to.
It's hard to say, but what I would say is once you
Well,
find
hypothetically speaking, I mean that could be the.
it could be, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be graft and misuse of money. There's always going to be, abuse of the finances.
Yeah.
And so that's, why you got to do your research on your candidate and ask them questions, man. Whenever they're out there politicking, stumping around, hey, do you keep the books? Yeah, I keep the books. Do you have, where can I see you're in and out? Yeah, and it's either going to be with at the state level, the Texas Ethics Commission, or at the federal election, the FEC.
Yeah, and
the Federal Election
we've talked
Commission.
about that. You and I have talked about that personally. I head up a congregation. I did a congregation. Our books are always open. People designate their tithes and their offerings here. We have to make sure that those tithes and offerings go exactly where they want them to go. Not where I want them to go. Really, we give people the opportunity to see our books. We submit our information to watchdog groups as well.
Good, yeah.
To be accountable, and I'm accountable to people above me as well. My senior rabbi and things like that.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I'm accountable to God. But folks, I do not, I don't really identify myself as a Republican.
Yeah.
I vote Republican because I love the platform, but I will never ever vote Democrat. I guarantee you, I will never ever vote Democrat. I don't care if the Democrat comes in and he says, I have the solution, for this economic, downfall. The reality is the Democratic platform, Frank, to me is ungodly.
Yeah.
I'm pro-life, I'm pro-Israel, I'm pro-marriage, and that's where I draw the line. The economy for me is, secondary, even last in some cases. But I will not, I won't. But however, I will entertain an independent as well. I will entertain as long as the candidate is not Democrat. I'll look at the Republican candidate, look at an independent candidate that best represents what I believe in.
Yeah.
And the reality is I believe in America. And we look at, you talk about, that there's pockets of resistance, but that's how it's always been, right? The remnant, the scriptures talk about a remnant, it talks about a remnant in the last days as well, that is going to be standing up. And that's the way it is, folks. And and we look at Texas and we think that Texas is continually red. you know, but it's slowly turning blue. You know, we said this in the past few a couple episodes that it's purple at best. You know, the larger cities, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston,
Austin,
Austin, they're all blue.
yeah,
You
bro.
know?
And you know, Manny, that's because there's a narrative. You know, we can rant and rage against the narratives of the left because what they're doing, it's propaganda, bro.
Yeah.
It's propaganda. It's fear mongering that they use. But
Like the winter of death. Right?
yeah. You know, geez, you know, it's 80 degrees out there. But also, you know, we know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But you know, folks, it's also on the right, and that's what I started talking about earlier, Manny. The civil war within the Republican Party. There's people like me, brother, former chairman for Valverde County Republican Party, former state Republican executive committee member, who have seen that. The elites in control of the parties, brother, all they want from the grassroots is just, you know, mind your own business. Don't look to the left or to the right. Just line up and do what we tell you to do. And what they are doing, brother, is they are supporting people like Tony Gonzalez in our district who continues to work with the left in the invasion of our country.
Yeah.
See, they think either that you're ignorant, you're stupid, or compliant, folks. They don't want you to stand up. They don't want you to stand up and fight for what is right, fight for what is good, fight for the way it should be. And that's why I'm taking a stand. As I was telling folks to get involved and get into the arena, I knew that I could not sit on the sidelines, Manny. So in our way, folks, we've got to jump into the fight because they want, especially here in primary, they want this primary season to go their way. And what do I mean by that? They're going to flood with money their puppets, their anointed candidates. And so you need to look hard for the grassroots candidate. Now, some places might not have a choice, brother. You know, the alternative might just be so terrible or whatever. But look for your alternative conservative champion.
Right.
And support that person because not only is he going to be fighting the left, the ideology of the left, he's going to be fighting the cancer within the Republican Party, you know, the establishment cancer. And they're the ones that are being silent on people like Tony Gonzalez, who has done so much. You know, I was reading this morning how he voted for gun control in the Defense Authorization Act. You know, he was one of 100 plus to initially vote for it. Of course, they went and changed the vote later on, brother. But he voted for it
Initially, right? Yeah.
Initially, and it's like you remember a few years ago, Nancy Pelosi. You know, I was for it before I was against it. You know, the true colors are revealed, brother.
Right.
The true colors are revealed.
Yeah, like now he's trying to flip flop on the way he voted on the January 6th commission, right?
Exactly.
But the reality is that first initial reaction from him that shows his true colors.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and he's been long exposed, bro. You know, Trump supported him, endorsed him, and what did he do? He stabbed him in the back with his very first vote. When it mattered with the Electoral College,
Yeah.
you know, Senator Cruz stood up and said, "Hey, let's send this back to Arizona. Let's send this back to Pennsylvania. Something's not right here. Let's have the state legislatures look at the Electoral College vote that took place." And Tony Gonzalez was only one of 6 or 7 Texas congressmen.
Yep. Yeah.
Republicans out of 22, 23 that voted against that, brother.
Yeah.
And now we're finding out there was all kinds of stuff going on with that 2020 vote.
And still finding out stuff.
We're still finding out. And so we say all this, folks, because here in CD 23, the wolf snuck in. And you know, he's done a lot of damage to a national security. But in your county, in your city, in your state, you're going to have a choice as to who you're going to elect to be your representative. And it's up to you, the people, you know, to vet them and to make sure that only true American warrior, conservative patriots get elected and get into office. Because otherwise, they're going to sell us out, brother. And it's elements of both parties that are selling us out. And that's why America is in the trouble that it is right now.
That's right. You know, and I agree. You know, folks, we're getting into the new year, into 2022. You know, we haven't even been a full year yet in this administration, and we can't sustain. There's no way we can sustain another 3 years with this administration and with the people that we have in leadership right now, especially the rhinos. You know, because we are fighting two fronts. You know, the Democrats have nothing to worry about. The rhinos, you know, there are a few scattered, you know, patriots here and there in the Republican Party as well. But then some of them, Frank, you know, are kind of silent in a sense. You know, I like there's some that I haven't heard of that we used to hear from all the time. You know, and now it's like I don't understand it. But you know, folks, as we continue on, and trying to bring you information. Let's look at what's happening here on the border. This is what affects us here, affects the rest. It not only affects Texas, but affects the rest of the United States. Right now, Frank, in comparison to last year at this time, we are up 240%
Yeah.
in illegal apprehensions. That's just the illegal apprehensions. That doesn't mean gotaways. That doesn't include other things. I'm sorry, this is talking about encounters. But up over 240%.
Wow. And so that's the fiscal year, folks. And let's remind you that for the federal government, the fiscal year starts October 1.
Yeah, it says October 1.
So October 1, I mean, 2 months ago.
Yeah, and let's look at you look at the fiscal year when Trump was in office, right? 526,000, or I'll round it up, 527,000, and we're already up in this fiscal year alone in FY22 385,000, right?
Wow.
385,000 illegal apprehensions, and it's illegal alien apprehensions, folks. That's more than a whole fiscal year. And let's look at fiscal year 21. 1,957,000, Frank. 1,957,000 illegal alien
So
apprehensions.
2 million.
Almost, 2 million. We're up at the 2 million mark, and that's not including gotaways. Last week we talked to Victor Avila. He conservatively said, I think we're about 2 million, right? And that was conservatively speaking. But folks, that doesn't include the gotaways. Gotaways are those who aliens that the agents saw on camera. They counted their sign, their footprints, right, or reports that the aliens that got away, and they included those numbers. Folks, for conservatively speaking, every alien that gets apprehended, 1 to 5 get away. So multiply 2 million by 5, conservatively speaking, that's how many aliens came through.
And that's, Manny, we're talking about people. Just this past weekend, Eagle Pass, they had a cocaine seizure, $380,000, almost $400,000 worth of cocaine, folks.
Wow.
So the drugs are coming across, and it's a major problem for our nation. Our children are being attacked in so many different ways. Our future is being attacked in so many different ways, Manny, with drugs, with the sexual immorality that's being thrown down their throats, and with the jobless. When you look at the unemployment rate, it's also symbolic, Manny, of a people that are lazy, and don't want to work, and are depending on government, brother. And maybe some people just realize, brother, that they make more money sitting at home. So it may not be necessarily laziness. They've succumbed. They've done what the government wanted them to do, which is become overly dependent on government, brother. And we can't be that. The Word of God says to be industrious, to work and enjoy the fruit of your labor. That's what the Word of God calls us out to do, brother. And so, there's a lot of things, Manny, in our society right now that are attacking our children, our future. Why? Because it's our future.
Yeah.
And if they can lay waste to our children, they lay waste to the future.
Yep.
And we see it all around us, man. How our society is so hypersexualized, and so it has desensitized people. And what God intended, for His glory, for to be a sacred act, is now for sale out in the streets.
Right.
And
that people are even trying to justify, pedophilia now.
yeah,
Right.
All kinds of stuff, Manny. And so part of the reason I bring that up is because what we see happening here on the border with the drug problem, it's going to affect our children. It's going to affect our future, brother. And so we have to be on guard for that. And the drug problem is a major part of that. And part of it too has to do, Manny, with who manufactures the drugs. China, brother.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the fentanyl right now, I guess is
really a huge problem.
It's a huge part as well. That's coming through also.
And you said it earlier. Why isn't the left attacking or saying anything about certain politicians on the right? Because they're sold out, brother. They're doing their bidding. There's no reason to call them out. They're concentrating on the ones that are calling out the Biden administration and what Biden's doing to our nation. But there's so many politicians, even on the right, that are ignoring China.
Yeah,
they're ignoring what China is doing to our nation, with everything from the bug, to the manufacturing of fentanyl. Most of it is coming from China. We need to be aware, folks, that Mexico is strengthening their relationships with China, brother, and that's a problem. Right now, Mexico is aiding and abetting the invasion. They're not doing anything about the cartels that are moving in broad daylight in their country.
Yeah.
But they're also deep in a relationship with China, and China is our sworn enemy. They have in the White House somebody who's going to be working with them in the form of Biden.
Yep.
We know that Biden sold out to the Chinese, and so these are the kinds of issues that, as we go into election season, folks, you need to be looking at your candidates and who's putting up a fight about that. And if they're being silent, why are they being silent? And man, I've said it before, man. Those on the left, it's ideology. It's controlling the masses. It's about removing God from His rightful place. And as far as in our society, God can't be removed. But in our society, look at what has happened to our nation as we become increasingly godless. But also for those on the right that have sold out. They sold out their principles, their morals, their values, and it's just about getting rich, making money, being in power, and holding on to that power. And that's destroying our nation.
It is destroying our nation. And the sad thing is that, Frank, is that people, the average citizen continues to believe these politicians and continue to believe these people who are getting rich off the backs of the average citizen, of the taxpayer, and then penalizing the law-abiding citizen, with all these mandates, with all these gun control laws that they want to impose. It's a sad state of affairs, and especially when we look at those who come into this country legally.
Yeah.
I've spoken to many during this since Biden had come into office. I've spoken to a lot of naturalized citizens, right?
Yeah.
And man, they are fed up. They're fed up, and why? And they have every right to be fed up. They came here legally.
Yes.
They spent the money. They did the right thing, and yet people are just cutting in line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's so jacked up, bro. Because here in America, man, we need the law and order. I'll tell you, out there in Alpine, man, great. It was a great time out there. But I had to go to the convenience store, standing in line. Some dude just cuts in line, man.
Yeah.
And people are looking at him, and then he starts trying to cut in front of this other guy, and this guy's like, "Hey, hasta pa allá, hey," and the guy's like, I don't know if the dude was, just hungover or what. But anyways, but then contrast that to Sanderson. We're coming back. We're going to the convenience store in Sanderson. There's a guy there that's friendly as heck, man. He offered to buy us gum and coffee, and he was a very friendly guy. And I said, "Hey, sir, love the accent, man. Well, where are you from?" And he says, "I'm Persian. I'm from Iraq."
Wow.
And so, we chatted briefly, and I told my son, because Seth was with me in the store, and I told him, "Yeah, I bet you the guy's a Christian. There's a lot of believers in Iraq, bro."
Yeah, actually, it's the fastest growing faith right now in Iraq.
In Iraq, bro. And so they fled. They fled that nation. They managed to get out. And as we were driving away, I was really impacted by this guy. And I was like, you know what, man? That guy's got the joy of the Lord. He was such a joyful person, full of joy. You could just tell he was just happy to be alive.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, "Yeah, I'm here with my boss. I'm here with my boss." And around the corner comes this woman, and I was fixing to ask him, what company you all work for.
Yeah.
And he says, "That's my wife."
Yeah.
but anyways, man, I just say that, I don't know why I went off on that bunny rabbit trail there, other than, we have to protect what we have here, brother.
Right.
And immigration that is legal, that is, through the system, that is done the right way. We're all for it, man. But this lawlessness that's sweeping our nation, Manny, it's a huge issue. And as we've seen, the decimation that's happening to our military and our law enforcement, first responders, who just a little while ago they were heroes, and now they're being chastised and ostracized, for not getting stuck, not getting pricked. This year ahead for us is going to be, I think, a time that's really going to test our faith, Manny.
I think so.
It's going to test our resolve. It's going to test our mettle, METTLE, as Americans.
Right.
And are we going to be a people who just talks, are we gonna be a people who walks it, brother? And I think that's what America needs. We need people who are willing to walk through the fire, willing to walk, and stand in the face of storms that are gonna come our way as a nation.
Yeah.
And so part of that definitely has to do with the people you elect, but then get involved in your communities, get involved in your local churches, your local synagogues. Get your family moving closer to God. You're gonna need faith, folks. You're gonna need strong hearts.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not saying that as some source of foreboding or in any way trying to be a fear monger or anything like that. It's just that we've seen what took place this last year, and so now as we go into election season, they're already ramping up. The calls. For we might have to lock down or whatever. Look at the pattern they used in 2020 and the way that they locked people down, bro, and they froze people in their homes.
Yeah.
And and it was right before election season.
Right.
So be wary, man. Be watchful. They fool you once, don't let them fool you twice.
Yeah. And we look at other countries right now. I mean, and we look at you look at Australia, right? And they have those quarantine camps, and keeping people locked in rooms. And even I saw a video the other day that one of my kids showed me that police officers actually beating down a guy because he came out of his room. It's insane, and that's supposed to be a democratic country, right? That's supposed to be a free country.
Yeah.
And folks, sad to say, the United States, the administration that we have in office right now, they look to these other countries as an example. And if we think that the United States is exempt from warmongering, leaders or power grabbing leaders, then we're naive and foolish to think that. And especially when it comes to people of faith, we need to utilize the scriptures as our foundation in regards to who we vote for, who gets into office. The Bible tells us, yes, to pray for those who are in leadership, and I do. I pray for the salvation of our leaders. And the reason being, Frank, is because once they have that salvation, things would be a lot different. It's interesting. Over 98% or 96% of Americans profess to believe in God, right? And so you would think that with that high of a percentage, that things would be completely different in this country.
Yeah.
The guy who's in office right now, Biden, who's in office right now, he claims to be a Catholic, right? And I remember seeing a video a while back that there was a couple of priests that said that if he ever came in, that they'd refuse him to communion.
Yeah.
I'm not Catholic, but the reality is that the reason they did it was because of his stance on abortion.
Yeah.
Right. And so my whole point is that if you're a person of faith and you're putting in these leaders and voting for these leaders who act contrary to the scriptures, who promote things that are contrary to the scriptures, the Bible tells us that we're no better, right? That you actually approve and are taking part in that as well. If it's because of your pocketbook, well, that you need to look at maybe self-examine your heart and your relationship with God as well. Or if you're that one that says, I know Messiah is returning, I might as well just don't vote. He's going to come back and everything's going to be better. Folks, we don't know when he's coming back. We have no idea when he's coming back. I mean, I believe that he's coming back during a feast day, but I'm not going to set a date and say it's going to be this time. However, until that time comes, Frank, we need to get involved. We need to get involved, and we need to support people who are willing to support and promote what we believe in.
Manny, as you're saying that, as Texans, we need to be, vigilant, but also, just fed up, bro. And I think a lot of Texans are fed up. They're fed up with the way things are going in this country, and they're fed up with the inactivity, the inaction, the dragging of feet, or just the outright, our elected officials ignoring these problems, man. And so that's why we're gonna be using, this time as we go into primary season as a rallying call, to research your candidates out there, talk to them, find them.
Yeah.
If they're having a town hall, if they're having a meeting, if you see them out there, go to their webpage, reach out to them and contact them. Any candidate that's out there running around should be willing willing to talk with you and to take your questions. If it's not answered on the page, or in their writings and their posting on social media, whatever, reach out to them. If you have any questions, figure it out, because we need Texans to put our freedom first, our Constitution first, our way of life first. And there's a lot of sellouts, and there's at the end of the day, Manny, there's nobody to blame but we the people, because we're complacent. And we a lot of people are, not everybody of course, but a lot of people are so complacent they don't really even know. You watch, man, they won't even be aware we're going into the primary season. And if they're aware, they don't have the time for it. And then we reap what has been sown, man, and we reap the consequences of electing inept, incompetent, or outright malicious people, bro, and putting them in power, man.
No, you're right. You're right. And then at the same time, we'll get these people in office who only care to address those who are on the left, or promote those policies that are on the left, and ignoring national security like it's happening right now. Folks, I always tell people, when I served in the Border Patrol, because I remember I got asked a question at a high school. I remember I was at a high school talking to a group of students, and at the end, I usually opened up for questions. I remember this one young woman, young student, she stood up and asked me, how could I do what I do? And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, how can you arrest your own people? Yeah. And I said, you mean Americans? And she says, no, Mexicans. And I said, well, first of all, I'm an American. Second, I have no problem arresting anyone who's broken the law, American or otherwise. And so, but it's interesting that mindset, that because I'm Hispanic and I have some Mexican heritage, that I can't make a living, or I can't enforce the laws of my country. The other country that I love. But yet, if I went into Mexico, right, and caused committed some crimes, they throw me in jail right away.
Oh yeah, brother. It's legendary, man. I mean, it's just legendary. Everybody, folks down here know you don't want to go to a Mexican prison, man. You don't want to wind up thrown into a Mexican prison. It's harsh. It's terrible conditions. We've seen the movies and read the news reports, and it's not a good situation to get thrown into a, not just Mexican, foreign prison, brother. There's a lot of countries that strictly enforce the laws of their nation. I remember Tucker Carlson was over in Eastern Europe somewheres. I forget the country right now, but he watched as a couple of people entered that country illegally. I think it may have been Romania or something like that. But anyways, they enter the country illegally, and right then and there, bro, their version of Border Patrol gets the people, and they return them right there. Why? Because they saw them enter the country illegally, right. And so there was no question about it. There was no a lengthy a trial phase or anything. They saw it with their own eyes, and they returned him immediately.
Yeah.
And that's something we've talked about here in our border, man. We've got our state assets out here deployed, and there are many times that they're seeing it happen.
Right.
And they're not repelling them, bro.
No, they can't do anything. They can't do anything about it. And again, I love our DPS. I love our National Guard. But the reality is, folks, is that most of the time they're just escorting aliens, to Border Patrol, or actually they can't even put them in their vehicles sometimes, and many times they're just waiting for Border Patrol to come. It's just a welcome committee, and then the majority of these numbers that we read that I showed talked about earlier, Frank, over 300,000 in this fiscal year alone, the majority of them have been released.
Yeah.
And folks, I'm just talking about Del Rio sector.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, the rest of the sectors, Frank. And this sector here is not a big sector. It's a medium-sized sector.
Yeah, it's been ranking number 2 for a while, and Manny, it's very disheartening. As well as I do, we could be out there every day filming stuff that's happening, following the traffic, following the patterns. I mean, Del Rio Center, Del Rio proper itself, right here. Del Rio was the epicenter for a while, and then it shifted down south into the Eagle Pass area.
Yeah.
Those shift around, folks, and what they're doing is they're playing cat and mouse with DPS. As the presence increases in one area, it's going to affect their drug trafficking, because behind the human movement, the exploitation that's taking place, the movement of women and children, there's also the drug trafficking. And you said something earlier, Manny, that said that, we cannot be quiet, brother. We can't keep quiet about these issues. And we have a lot of elites within the elected political class, brother, that want business to continue as usual, even here at the state level, at the federal level, even locally, in your communities, your counties, they want business to continue. And we cannot be silent, man. Whether it's the exploitation of women and children, like what is happening here in the border regions, or the wasting and misspending, wrongful spending of tax dollars, bro. We as American citizens, we who call ourselves believers, have to exercise good stewardship, and that means holding elected officials accountable, demanding transparency, and then oftentimes, Manny, jumping into the arena yourself, getting into the fight yourself. Don't stand by, don't look around, don't wait for others to jump in. I mean, if you see it happening, and you know that it's wrong, at that point you have an obligation to get involved. And I know, I get it, man. We're busy. We have families. We have issues. Some of us suffer from medical health issues. Folks are sometimes, living on a very tight pension. There's all kinds of matters. Now we have this, overreaching, authoritarian type of, federal government that's pushing down on the states, demanding that they enact their agenda. So it's a very difficult time for American citizens, for Texans, but we need to jump in. We need to get involved and get in the fight. Once you find, folks, that candidate that best fits your morals, your values, that you vetted, get behind them. They need support. They need volunteers. They need block walkers. They need people to be spreading the word about them. People willing to make phone calls on their behalf, and honestly, to give money. Manny, nowadays it takes money. That's why the primary process is stacked. It's balanced again in favor of the person that has the most money. And the establishment has a lot of money, and they know that the grassroots candidates are going to struggle just to get together money. So if you find a good grassroots warrior out there, folks, a conservative warrior, support him directly, and because you need to know that the opponents in that field are, if they're establishment, they're going to have at their disposal, brother, money. A lot of times it's taxpayer dollars that they get access to run their campaigns. I got a flyer from the Gonzalez camp, and it says paid for by the United States House of Representatives. So the U.S. House of Representatives is paying the mailers, contributing to the mailouts for an open borders, rhino, Republican like Tony. He's not even a Republican, bro. He's a Democrat like Tony Gonzalez, brother, who got into the Republican camp.
And I know that he's going around. He's trying to say now that he supports,
a border patrol
and a secure border. But folks, you look at his record and what he's done. His actions, speak otherwise.
How arrogant is that, Manny? Since you bring that up, remember he used a fake border patrol agent on one of his commercials in the last primary. He used a fake border patrol agent, and so now he's running around. He was out of Del Rio, Big Bend sector, meeting with border patrol agents. Folks, he's rubbing it in your face. I mean, talk about the arrogance, brother. And good thing the agents know, man. They reach out to us. They see through this guy. But that is the height of hypocrisy and the height of arrogance that you get a guy like Tony Gonzalez, who used a fake border patrol agent, who's flying illegal aliens out of Laughlin Air Force Base, who worked with John Cornyn to build 4 fast-track mega processing asylum centers. who voted for gun suppression. He's out there wanting to mix it up and mingle with Border Patrol agents, brother. They smell a rat from a mile away.
Oh yeah, I go to sometimes I go visit his page and whatnot. I see a lot of the comments. A lot of people don't believe a word that he says anymore.
Yeah.
And rightly so. And like you said earlier, Frank, I talked to a lot of agents. They see right through him. He did. He especially a lot of people don't realize that fake border patrol agent upset a lot of people. I was still in the border patrol when that happened, and that upset me, man. That really upset me.
That fake Border Patrol agent was actually investigated, bro.
Yeah.
It was a Border Patrol actually looked into it to see who that person was because he was misrepresenting himself as a federal law enforcement officer. He had a shirt on that was, if not an outright Border Patrol uniform, was a replica, was a fraud upper shirt. And for us agents, we immediately spotted it. And I know for a fact, I've been told, by sources within Border Patrol, that whole thing was looked into. It was investigated, bro.
Right. By a congressional,
It was a candidate at the time.
Congressional candidate.
But Manny, and look, folks, you'll see it happening in your community. You will see it happening in your elections. People are sounding the alarm. People are blasting, the sirens about candidates. Somebody here in our feed asked about Tony Gonzalez endorsing a candidate down south in the Rio Grande Valley. I went and was at a rally in the Rio Grande Valley, and I said, if Kevin McCarthy, or the establishment crowd like Tony Gonzalez endorses a candidate, you better take a second look at that candidate. If your candidate has been endorsed by the likes of Kevin McCarthy, Scalise, the establishment, the powers that be, Abbott, you need to look at that candidate because more than likely he's the selected one, the anointed one, the one that they are going to have their meat hooks into to do their bidding, to do their will, to vote the way that they want them to vote. And that's why the grassroots are calling out, sounding the alarm on Republicans that vote with the left, brother.
Right.
And there's sadly several Texas Republicans at the congressional level that have voted with the socialists, with Nancy Pelosi and her crowd, and at the state level, we got probably I say a bigger problem, brother, because what I mean by that is if the U.S. is a house, Texas is the front door, brother. Yep. And we have here in our legislature, total sellouts, brother, weak-willed freaking cowards. And I'll take it a step further, Manny. Traitors to Texas, traitors to America, traitor to our values, traitor to our patriotic, constitutional foundation, outright traitors, brother. And the Republican Party has been in control of the House and the Senate for the past 17, 18 years, man. And we're like ranked in the middle of the pack, 20s, 30s, as far as the conservative goes. If the Republican Party is truly red, Texas should be truly red, Manny. Right. Our standing should be up on top.
Oh yeah,
top 5%, brother. Yeah, the top 5 as far as being a conservative state, and it isn't. Why? Because you have sellouts. The ideology is of the left. They're sold out to that ideology, but on the right, you have these people that are power, money hungry, and that's why I say there's a civil war within the Republican Party, and that's why we take the actions that we take, folks. We got to save our republic. We have to save our state. We
sure do.
And when the time comes, brother, you take the gloves off and you fight unconventionally, man. Yeah. You fight because it's a fight for life and death. It is a struggle. And there ain't no time for freaking, drinking your little tea parties and mixing it up and taking pictures, and it's a cult of personality as well, brother. Yeah. And that cult of personality mentality, that's what you see in Hollywood. That's what you see in the sports world. People love to kiss butt on other people, brother. And that kissing butt is what's destroying our country. We need people that are willing to fight and stand up and do what's right. They can call you a liar. They can call you a fearmonger. They can call you some kind of conspiracy theorist guy. Right. But that's what they're gonna do, bro. They wanna paint you a certain way.
Yeah.
And so you just gotta stand up and keep talking the truth, keep preaching the truth, keep speaking the truth. And then praying that people's eyes and ears will be open to the truth, and that when they hear it, brother, they'll recognize it and they will walk in the truth.
Amen. So I'm going to do this. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well said, Frank. And you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And people need to get involved as well. So, folks, we want to thank you so much for joining us here today. Talk about it live with Frank and Manny. God willing, we'll be here next Tuesday as well. We do have a website. Again, I'm just going to put it up on the screen here real quick. Talkaboutitlive.com, and you can go there to our website. We do have a donate button as well if you want to help support us. You can see at the bottom of the screen there. And so we truly appreciate your support also, so we can continue to get the message out. And folks, you can email us as well at talkaboutitlive@gmail.com with Frank, to Frank and I. I try to answer a lot of our email
Yeah.
as quickly as possible. We try to answer the comments also, but folks, don't forget to pray for our nation every morning. Get up and when you get up in the morning during your devotional time, whatever, and pray for our nation. Pray for those, as hard as it may be, and sometimes it's hard for me to pray for those who are in power right now, who are in leadership positions. I do pray for them. I pray for their salvation. I pray that they see the light of Messiah, and even God willing, hopefully that they would give themselves over to Him. But folks, we know and trust that there is a God, a great God, who is able to do all things.
Amen.
And so I want to thank you again so much for joining us, and hopefully we get to see you next week. As well.
And real quick here, hey, I want to say hello to everybody. Thanks that you've been jumping in. Thanks for the comments. I'm looking at stuff here in our comments. Appreciate the input, folks. We need that input. And there's one here, Manny, that it caught my eye, brother. I had to just pause and says, hearing word of troops committing suicide on the border because of the treatment by their superiors, brother. That's a tragic thing. To be away from family, to be deployed away from your life and everything that you're used to go to a place you don't know, and then and I put it this way, Manny, you and I both were in the military, and then in Border Patrol, we saw the dog and pony shows. Man. We knew there were fake ops. We knew there were, it was intended, to be pleasing to a visiting dignitary or VIP of some kind. And I'll tell you what, brother, this National Guards, this DPS troopers deployed, brother, they know they're part of a charade, man.
Yeah.
And so to a big part, it is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And now, to hear that agents are committing National Guard troops are committing suicide, we need to look into that. Had you heard anything?
No, I haven't heard anything about that. But, to whoever made that comment, it actually goes beyond treatment from any supervisors. There's a whole bunch of stuff involved in that.
Yes.
When military and law enforcement commit suicide, and the statistics are, if you look at the stats, they're very shocking. Frank and I dealt very much with suicide when we were in the chaplaincy on both the military side and the law enforcement side, right?
Yeah.
And we've instructed on suicide prevention, intervention, postvention. We've personally come in contact with families who were affected by suicide. And if you're watching this program and you're struggling with that, give us a call. Email me. I'll talk with you, and I'll put you in contact with people who can help you as well. There is a saying that suicide doesn't stop the pain; it only puts it on the shoulders of the survivors.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, give us a call or go find somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
It's a short-term solution. It's a long-term solution to a short-term issue.
Yeah, permanent solution.
Yeah, permanent. I'm sorry. Yes, a permanent solution to a short-time issue. And so, folks, you can get through this. And so again, we want to continue to pray for our troops, for our DPS, and God be with you. And we want to. And so we'll go ahead and close off.
Yeah. Hey, folks, just thanks for joining us here. Go back and review what we talked about. And let it sink in. We're like you. We're family men like you. We're Americans and Texans, freedom-loving people like you. And when we see what is happening in our nation, it's right. It is totally right to be offended, and to be offended at the elites that are lying to us day in and day out. And they actually think that we're going to be quiet and we're not going to say anything about it. No, now is the time to get involved, to stand up, to fight for what is right. Yeah. And the way we do it, we have a republic, we have a constitution, and we have to, walk in the path that was laid out by our founding fathers, more importantly, in the Word of God. And if God is for us, brother, who can be against us?
That's right.
And so we want to thank you for joining us. Thanks for the comments. Like, share, follow. And we appreciate you being here with us in the middle of holiday season. I pray that this year will be a good year for you. That pray that you will blessed going in and blessed going out. That whatever you do, folks, please do it in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and you will receive honor from the Father. You may be reviled, cast out by men and princes and rulers, but in the eyes of God, you're doing what's right,
That's right.
and you will be rewarded for that.
Amen. Amen. Well said, Frank. Well, I want to say thank you again for joining us. Make sure you go to our website, tacoboutlive.com. Email us, give us a call. However you want to get in contact with us. And folks, God willing, we'll see you next year, next Tuesday. So on Taco Tuesday, 8 a.m. here on Taco About Live with Frank and Manny. So God bless you, God bless America, and God bless Texas.